Hi, today we're out here at a customer's property and we just got done doing some other check valve replacement parts where the customer had some bad water chemistry causing some of the internal gaskets to swell up and not create a true seal. So he was having some diatomaceous earth problems. What we're going to go ahead and do now is he has a 1-inch spring check valve here that is what is a spa bypass line. So when the water's returning to the pool, there's a small line here that allows some of the water from the pool to return to the spa so the spa doesn't go stagnant, hence turning green. This check valve here is going to allow water to flow through it while it's running, and once the system turns off, this check valve, if working properly, should stop the flow so the spa, if elevated, does not drain down below the plaster line, causing plaster damage and other issues to occur. Since we did other gasket replacements, we're going to go ahead and replace this insert. Seeing that this check valve that he has existing, he's fortunate to have a unionized check valve to where both ends of this fitting are able to be removed, making it easier to replace this part when needed instead of having to cut the PVC plumbing. So if you're ever replacing a check valve for any part of the swimming pool equipment, you want to make sure that it's unionized. As long as it's unionized, you'll always be able to access it and make repairs to any parts without having a plumber come out or having to do any extensive plumbing work to your swimming pool equipment. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and replace this old yellowed out one. Make sure that we put a new gasket or a new check valve in there, ensuring that he's going to have good water flow when the system's on, and it will stop when the water's turned off. If you can see here, once the water opens this valve up, it has a small spring that allows water to go through there. There's also a small gasket in there that once it turns off, it allows it to shut, causing a true seal. We're going to go ahead and turn off the valve and replace this part. Again, always replace with unionized parts. If you're putting any new plumbing in, always replace. Type of valve like this, either have screws to access it or have unions so you can access it without having to do any extensive plumbing work. Once we look inside, we can see that the black gasket and the white gasket have swollen, so most likely this valve is no longer working properly. We're going to go ahead, since we have a new one, we're going to go ahead and replace the O-rings. These ones get flattened out over time due to them being pressurized, so what we're going to do is take the new O-rings out of the new unions we purchased with the new check valve, and we're going to replace them to make sure it's a waterproof seal. As with any O-rings on pool equipment, again, you're going to want to use Magic Lube. Take a small amount on your fingertips and rub it onto the O-ring to make sure that it's lubricated so it will seal properly. Now on this type of check valve, there's small grooves where these O-rings will actually fit into, making it easy for you to notice and be able to do without having any problems. They sit in there on their own. If they don't, you might want to replace them. Now we're going to go ahead and take the check valve. Always remember, whichever way the direction of the water flow is going, you want to make sure that the check valve goes the same direction. And as a reference point, there's a small flow arrow that lets you have some guidance on which way it needs to be installed. So always check that the arrow is flowing in the right direction. For this one, this is the poolside return, so the valve is going in this direction. We're going to go ahead and make sure the arrow points in that direction and install it properly. Also, always make sure that when you're putting the insert in place that you're not pinching the O-ring or having the O-ring move out of its position. Once that's done, you can go ahead and rethread the unions in place and you should be good to go. Not a very difficult process, but if you do have a bad check valve and you're losing water or your spa's draining down and you have a check valve on your spa side bypass line, always double check that your valve is working properly, and most likely if it's not, just go ahead and replace it.